I said we scored when we found our new home, and of course I was right. It's located away from the city and furnished with a nice backyard view that will doubtless be used for model photography. It is also across the road from the BNSF Chicago-Denver main line, giving me plenty of convenient train watching when the weather is favorable. I ended up with a generous amount of room that could serve as an office and workshop among other things, and a 31 by 15 foot room for the layout. Being unfinished, I had easy access to the floor joists above to hang lighting and possibly a proper backdrop, and the lack of studs and wallboard adds an extra 8 or 9 inches in both directions to the room size. A clean concrete floor, with all of the drains and other utilities generally out of the way, meant that I could do the dirty work without having to worry about messing up the carpet, and there was nothing to trip over when running trains. So, the next major decision was whether to adapt the old railroad to the new space or start completely over. I eventually settled on sticking with the Associated Railroad's concept and using the extra space to expand and add key scenes along the route. This would prove rather economical, as the areas of interest did not feature any additional switching or the need for extra square footage of benchwork. Thus, I was able to build the new pieces out of lumber and track salvaged from the unused sections of the old railroad, most notably Rice Yard and Atlas Metals. Those two on their own would make a layout roughly 10 by 30 feet in size, so the only lumber I had to go out and buy was a couple of bundles of 2x2s for new table legs. The other sections that were scrapped were essentially the connective tissue that joined Myrtle Place, West Metro, and Two Creeks together. So, 12th Avenue West, the Sheridan Boulevard crossing, and the Weicker modules all had to go. Not to worry though, as the replacement sections would be vastly improved. Looking at the track plan, we can see that there is a lot more room for each of these little scenes to approach full scale. The section between Federal Boulevard and 12th Avenue better reflects the largely open field that the railroad crossed to get to Newton Street, and it allows me to add another road crossing at Knox Court, as well as spacing out the two bridges where Lakewood Gulch zigzagged under the tracks. The 12th Avenue West scene will be expanded to full scale, covering both blocks of that area and adding Osceola Street. Beyond that was another rather scenic bridge buried in a number of trees, which I will be adding, and that little curved bridge from the old 12th Avenue scene has been installed just before the new location of Sheridan Boulevard. That scene is also getting a little piece of 12th Avenue per the prototype, before finally connecting to the West Metro section. The only scene that didn't really quite make the cut was Weicker Transfer. As this location was no longer on the corner of the layout, but in a straight section, it would have to be represented by one remaining spur and some concrete to suggest that the rest of the business is in the aisleway. This odd little 4-foot module was the first one built, as it would set the overall flow and angle of the rest of the new layout. In fact, the entire track plan started in this corner when I joined the Two Creeks section to its original turnback curve and saw how perfectly it fit into this part of the room. It didn't take long to envision the rest and commit to a track plan. Since we're in this area, I also decided that Two Creeks needed to be a lot longer, so I added another 8 feet in the form of a 6-footer angled to join the original baloney cut on the west end of the brewery, and a 2-foot staging joiner that could at least provide a safe termination point for trains operating this end until the rest of staging could be built. Speaking of staging, I have a couple of different ideas for this that I have yet to decide on, but both will include a continuous running component in case I just want to turn a train loose for a while. So, the economy of this track plan is that I actually need fewer turnouts and the switch motors to create the modeled portion of the layout, and the new sections are mostly single track running until you get to Two Creeks. There is significantly more aisle space with only a couple of pinch points in less than critical locations, and overall this track plan is double the length of the original layout between I-25 and Two Creeks. In fact, even with the loss of Rice Yard and Atlas Metals, the run is still about 30 feet longer than to go from Rice Yard departure tracks to Two Creeks in the original track plan. So, no speeding, and enjoy the scenery, Mr. Engineer. I'm sure the track plan is a poor substitute for what I can see in my mind's eye when I get all of this done, but at least now we have a frame of reference for the rest of the build, particularly when I get into scenery and structures. Alright everybody, so that's the layout update for now. Next time I'll be talking about laying track, getting everything wired in, and maybe getting started on some of the base for the scenery. Thanks for watching. See you next time.